Facebook is clearly the largest. They broke 1 billion users. It's like 1.06 billion users on Facebook right now. That's a whole lot of people. Twitter is over 500 million. These are slightly old numbers. They haven't released numbers recently. They broke 500 million last year. Pinterest has been, I think they've been at 10.4 since like October, so they're over that now as well. I think they're probably closer to about 15 million now. What we're saying is that this is huge. There are a lot of people on social media, and the truth is that people don't go looking for news anymore. They wait for it to come to them, and they wait for it to come to them through email, through social media, through a text message or whatever. They don't go hunting news stories every day. There are very few people, and this number is rapidly declining, that actually open their door every day, pick up a newspaper, and sit down and read what the headline is. Most of the time, by the time it hits the newspaper, it's already been posted all over the internet. So you're behind the times if you aren't following it online. So, number of unique visitors. So, you know, we can talk about how many people have signed up for an account. That doesn't mean that they're actually active. It's how many people are actually active. And that's still a crazy number. For those of you that say you are too old, that you don't use the internet, look at the number of people 35 and up. Over half of them are over 35. And by far, every organization I've ever worked for, the most active demographic on Facebook is the 55 and up. It's usually about 25 to 30% of the active engagement on Facebook comes from the 55 and up crowd. And that reason is because I believe that people in that demographic have more time. They're not in school. A lot of them are retired. They don't have small children, those kind of things. So it's not just the kids that you're reaching through social media. A lot of people can be reached through social media, and a lot of times the more targeted active users are going to be the kids that aren't in college anymore, that are doing other things. So men versus women. Most social platforms are more female dominated, but Pinterest trumps all of that. I think Pinterest right now is 75% women.
No, it's not.
79%, I think it's 79 to 21. And if you look at the amount of time spent on these. This is how much time people spend of their lives per day on these different platforms. So Facebook's only at 12 minutes, Pinterest 1 hour and 17 minutes. And we'll go into Pinterest and why it's such an untapped market, but let's talk first about the basics, so it gets a little less scary. Okay. The first thing we need to know is that social media is not optional anymore. This is not something that if you want to have an impact, you can continue to ignore. It's something that legislators, that media, everybody is using at an increasing rate, especially the media. And we'll talk about the importance of the media and Twitter, but it's driving news cycles. It seriously impacts your SEO, which is when you Google something, your search engine optimization. That is all linked to social media, particularly Google+, because that is owned by Google. So you have to be posting stuff. It drives traffic back to your site, back to whatever story you're talking about. Knowing how to harness the power of these platforms is critical, even if you're not necessarily the one doing it. If you're running an organization, if you're running an initiative, if you're running some kind of campaign, even if you're not the person that's posting, you need to understand the importance of having someone that does that and not somebody stupid that's going to tweet inappropriate things or mix up things between accounts and do crazy things. So, like I said, people don't spend time hunting for information. You have to go where they are if you're actually going to have an impact. Just to give you an example here, this is a study that was done last year that I thought was really, really interesting. But compared with other internet users and users of social platforms, Facebook user who uses the site multiple times per day, so we're talking an engaged Facebook user, which is a lot of people, they are 2.5 more times likely to attend a political rally or meeting, 57% more likely to persuade someone on their vote, and 43% more likely to have someone to have said that they would vote. What that means is that these are the more engaged demographic. You're reaching people that are actually going to do something with that information. They're people that are trying to reach out to other people, that are having conversations, that are looking to persuade. You're reaching influencers, you're reaching people that have something to say when you're reaching active social media users. Does that make sense? Facebook. I don't want to spend too much time on Facebook, and just to be clear, we have a lot of time this afternoon, and I'm really excited because I always feel rushed when I try to do this in an hour. We have as much time as you guys need. So if you have questions along the way, feel free to stop me. Feel free to ask. I mean, nothing is too remedial. Let's start at the beginning. If I'm skipping over something, if you're not clear on something really basic, ask so we can clarify that, because somebody else in the room probably has that same question. So don't hesitate to interrupt me. Just to give you an idea of the size and scope of Facebook, 1.6 billion people are on Facebook, or 0.06. 2.7 billion likes every day. That's how many people click that little like button. That's so many. 250 million photos uploaded every day. Facebook accounts for 1 in 5 of all clicks. That means that of all the clicks on the internet, every time people click through to a link, Facebook is 20%. Think of the number of websites, the number of things that are out there. There are infinite numbers of websites. Facebook accounts for 20% of it. That is massive. Yes?
I'm going to show my knowledge of Facebook. What does it mean when they click that like? What does that do?
They like you.
Good question.
No, what it does, basically, when you click like on something, Facebook has a lot of different algorithms that you need to be aware of. First of all, when you're a fan of a page and you like a page, they don't continue to post that content in your feed if you don't engage with them. So, for example, you've liked somebody, you've liked an organization, but and even though you see their post, if you don't click that like button, if you don't engage, Facebook thinks you're not interested. And they'll start filtering that content out. And eventually, after a certain period of time, if you don't engage with that group or that person, it'll drop them out of your feed entirely. There's so much content on there that Facebook has had to start limiting what you actually see. So they use that as a way to gauge what you're actually interested in, the information that you're going to get. Second, that like, when I click like on something, it shows up first in this little sidebar thing on the right, which is a complete, I call it the stalker feed, which is, it shows every time somebody comments on something, likes something, you can see, Josh Harris likes Kristen Sharf's link, commented on this person's status, this person shared a link, this person commented on this person's status, all day long. That is driving more traffic back to that, because if I click on something, I have 5,000 friends and however many people that are subscribed to me. So, when I do that, it's going to all those people, and all those people can see that I have liked that and I've interacted with that. And a lot of times it'll post in your home feed and say, oh, my friend has liked this link, or my friend has liked this page. It is a way to kind of, it's a way to weight content within Facebook, and also off Facebook. Almost every single website now has the like, the pin it, the tweet this, whatever feature. You've all seen those little icons. And it's a way to get people to share that content on Facebook from another website. Because that's how things go out. Yes?
Doesn't it also, though, like if you're trying to promote something, that if your friends know who you are, if they like it and comment stuff, that keeps it coming back up, which helps you.
It does, yeah.
It helps you promote them.
It does. I mean, if you're in a circle, a lot of you have a lot of friends that have a lot of mutual friends within Facebook. So I'm going to see, even if something is a week old, if one of my friends goes back and comments on something, it will bump it back up and say, this person has commented on this status. So even though it's old, it will bump it back up to the top. That is absolutely correct. So it's a very important tool within Facebook, because there's so much content that a lot of it will get lost. The more engagement there is on something, the more people will see it, the longer it'll stay visible, and because even if you look back through old posts, it filters out posts that it is deemed not as important, And it judges that based on the level of engagement on that post. So how many comments did you get? How many likes did you get? How much interaction happened? So there's a lot of different reasons that engagement matters, and it'll start, even with your friends, it'll start filtering out posts from people that you don't interact with as regularly. Does that make sense to answer your question? Okay. Okay. Do we have any questions about Facebook? Do we need to spend any time talking about any of the nuts and bolts on Facebook? Stuff you guys have questions with? I don't make slides for that because I don't know what you guys want as far as Facebook goes. I know it tends to be something that you guys are more familiar with, so I don't want to bore you talking about stuff that you guys already know.
Well, I don't know about everybody else, but I don't even have a Facebook page, so I don't know anything about it.
All right. I'll talk about some of the basics here and some of the important things on Facebook. Facebook is cool because it is your tightest sphere of influence online. These are the people that you go to school with, that you go to work with, that you go to church with, that you interact with on a regular basis. A lot of people only friend. How many of you only friend people that you actually know? I mean, I kind of have that rule where I won't add anybody that doesn't know me because I'm going to post pictures sometimes of my friends or of places I am, and it's not, yes?
Karen's already posted a picture of all of us
Yes.
here. I didn't do that.
Linda did it.
That's awesome. So, what I'm saying in that is, these are the people that are going to listen the most to you. People are much more likely to listen to something their friend posts on Facebook than they are to listen to an ad from a stranger. You advocating for a particular issue or candidate or product or whatever it is you're trying to advocate for is going to have way more sway with the people on Facebook because that is your tightest sphere of influence, and those are people that know you and know the context of that information and know that they can probably trust you. Did I see a hand over here? Yes.
Why is it better than email?
Oh, goodness.
It's completely different than email. The first thing about Facebook is that it's completely interactive. It's public. So when I'm posting on people's walls or I'm commenting on people's statuses and pictures and links and videos and everything else that they post, that's all public and everybody else can see that. So you're sparking dialogue. There is a private message feature that is more like email, but it's just a public network of stuff. It is your life put on the internet. So I have 5,000 people that when I share something, I have 5,000 friends and hundreds of subscribers, and so those people are all going to see that post. They're going to interact. They're going to share that content. And it's scary sometimes. We'll talk probably. I'm sure that we'll get into the privacy thing later. You need to be aware on Facebook, particularly, about the privacy settings and what you want to show versus what you don't show. I have 2 general rules when it comes to social media, and I think this might be a slide later, but the 2 general rules are don't be dumb, so don't post things that you don't want people to see. If you don't want it on the internet, if you're afraid that somebody's going to see it, don't put it on there. The second one is assume that the person that you don't want to see that information is going to see it.
Yeah.
Because even if you think that they are blocked, that it is private, that it is whatever, somebody is going to screen cap it and send it wherever it needs to go. So those are the 2 things. You have to just use judgment. Don't post crazy stuff. Don't post things that are just, visibly ridiculous. Keep it relevant, keep it interesting, and you'll be fine. Don't say anything on social media that you wouldn't stand up in this room and say to people here. If you use that rule of thumb, you'll be just fine.
Because they don't criticize your boss, because
Yeah, don't do that.
human resources is.
Yes, and if you're sick, don't post pictures of you at the beach. If you're, use common sense.
Or you're a big party, don't put too many pictures on there where you.
Yeah, and a lot of people have rules. Don't post photos of me with alcohol. Don't post photos of me, and that's all contingent upon job stuff. You want to be careful of the image you project. Yes. What I mean by screen cap is that you take a picture of your screen. So on a Mac in particular, it's really easy. I can hit a couple keys, and I just took a picture of my screen. I can even hit. It's Control Shift 3. No. Yeah, okay, so Command-Shift-3 on my Mac just takes a picture of my entire screen. Command-Shift-4, I can actually, it turns into a little arrow thing, and I can select which part of the screen I want to capture. So if I just want to capture this little status right here, boom, I've taken a picture of that status. So even if he deletes that right now, I can post that and send it wherever I want to post it. This is why people hate Twitter.
Yeah.
Because even if you post something accidentally, there was a dust up with Major Garrett the other day who was cussing somebody out, he thought via direct message, which is private, went public, and then he deleted it almost immediately. By then it had been screenshotted and sent out 8 million times. And then he's like, my bad.
You can do that with anything that appears on your screen.
Anything on your
So
computer.
if you're
On a
sending what you
PC,
think is a private email, and someone gets a hold of it and doesn't want to forward it, they can just take a picture of it,
yes.
crop out the part like a photo that they don't want,
Yeah.
to reveal where it's coming from, and that part can go out. On a PC, I think it's
You can hit, a lot of PCs have a print screen
or
function.
shift print screen or
Yeah.
control print.
That does the same thing. I'm a screenshot junkie. I take pictures of everything because people like to delete stuff, or sometimes it's hard to find, or whatever. It's really fun to take this stuff. If you see something that is worth keeping, I'll just say that.
Can you tell us one more time how to do that?
On a PC, it's different depending on your computer. Sometimes on a PC, I think most PCs now have a print screen button. So print screen or shift print screen. If you have trouble, I would just Google screenshot on whatever computer you're on, and you should be able to find instructions on how to do it. On a Mac, it's Command-Shift-3 to get the whole screen, or Command-Shift-4 to select part of the screen. But I don't see any other Macs in here. Are there Macs? All right, 1.
Thank you.
2.
I used to copy something.
Sweet.
Paste on a piece of paper, so.
Right.
There you go, that's what I was.
So, but this is a great way to just take a picture of it, so then you can do whatever you want with that. All right. Any other, let's talk about, while we're on Facebook, I do want to talk about the privacy settings, because people always have questions on this. The first thing that I recommend doing is when you post a status, Facebook likes to, by default, tell people where you are. So if I post something right now, it would say, da-da-da, near Spartanburg, South Carolina. Maybe I don't want somebody to know I'm in Spartanburg, South Carolina. People don't always need to know where I am all the time. So when you type something, I've already removed it, but you can post, there's a little box that'll pop up, and it has an X next to it, and it'll put your location. Click that little X if it shows up, because that just removes the location, so it just shows the status and not where you are. Facebook changes their privacy settings all the time, like constantly. So they've actually, and this is something that's actually helpful, they've added a direct link to it up in the home bar, like up at the top right, up here. And so you can click on that, privacy shortcuts, and this is where you can click on who can see my stuff, who can see future posts, if you want to set it to certain lists. Are you guys familiar with lists on Facebook where you can add people to groups? That's a really helpful function. So say I wanted to add David Spielman to a group, mouse over his name, go to friends, and right here, I can add him to close friends, acquaintances, or another list. And this automatically creates lists for places I've lived, family, people I like, but I can also create a new list. So David used to work with me at FreedomWorks, so I could have created a FreedomWorks list and said, here you go, and all the people that work at FreedomWorks, I could put on a list. So if I just want to see posts from FreedomWorks, if I only want to share something with people for, at FreedomWorks, now this doesn't mean that they're the only ones that can see it, like I said, because nothing is ever completely private, but if it's something that's only going to be interesting to a certain group of people and you don't want to spam them, it's a great way to kind of keep that, or to filter if you have too many friends and can't keep up.
How do you
Yes?
first go in and make those lists?
I'm sorry?
How do you first go in and make those
I
lists?
just created a new list. So David Spielman, I mount, the little friends thing comes over when you mouse out, and you go right here, add to list. Those are the lists that already exist, but then there's a little plus sign right here that says new list. And then you create it, and then anybody you want to add to it, you can go to their profile and add them the same way I just added David. But once you've created it, it'll show up in that list of things that I've created.
I have a question.
Yes.
For business,
Yeah.
Facebook pages.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know one of the important things is to get a lot of likes.
Mhm.
What are some of the strategies in getting likes? And also, I was wondering about tagging pictures.
Mhm.
I think there may be a setting where you can tag a picture so that all their friends of friends will see it. Is there a strategy?
That I think depends on their privacy settings. I don't think that's something that you can do. What he's talking about is, okay, so for a Facebook page, like how many of you run a page for a Tea Party or some other Liberty group or some other group or whatever? Okay, so you have the public page. Some strategies, very basic strategies for that would be to first pay attention to the time that you're posting. And this goes across the board on Facebook. If you want traction on something, there's a general ebb and flow to Facebook, and it's usually, late morning, lunchtime, after work, and then before bed. So usually like 10-ish, 1-ish, 6 or 7-ish, and then 11 to 10-ish Eastern time is when the traffic peaks on Facebook and you get the most. I mean, that's a general rule of thumb. As a public page, don't post too much because it's not like Twitter where you can post 100 times a day and nobody's going to notice. Facebook, people do actually scroll through and see, and if they see you in their feed too many times, they're going to dump you because they don't fill them up. Especially grandma that's got 27 friends and doesn't see everything or watches every post because she doesn't have thousands of people to sort through. She's going to notice that you keep posting and get really annoyed by it. So just keep in mind who you're trying to reach, as far as when you post and the content that you post. 80% of what is shared on Facebook is an image. So keep that in mind as well. People are much, much, much more likely to share a picture or a stupid infographic with a cat on it, because that's how the internet rolls. So keep that in mind. When you post things, just always think about who you're trying to reach. The timing is really, really, really important. And I don't necessarily mean time of day. I mean that on election day, don't try to push another issue. I mean that during a Benghazi hearing when everybody's talking about Benghazi, don't try to talk about something else because it's going to get lost in the shuffle. Just be aware of your audience, what they're paying attention to at that moment. Was the rest of the world paying attention to Benghazi? Probably not. Were the political people in your feed that you're trying to actually have an impact on? Absolutely. So just think about that when you're posting, and those are some good rules of thumb. Do you have anything to add on that, Bruce? No? Okay.
No.
Okay.
Not on Facebook.
Okay. So privacy shortcuts. How do I stop someone from bothering me if you get harassed? Block them, unfriend them, whatever you want to do. Who can see my stuff? Public. So you can set it to be certain lists, only locations, friends, friends of friends, those kind of things. I mean, it gets really, really, really in depth. There's so much on Facebook, and it's so overwhelming and crazy. So tagging, he's talking about tagging photos. One thing that's super annoying that I don't recommend doing is tagging people in random photos that you want everybody to see and tagging 100 different people on it, and then you get every single notification every time somebody comments on it.
Yeah.
And we've all been there. Don't do that to people, because then they just don't like you. So they get all of those notifications. If it is legitimately of a person and it's not a terrible photo of them, keep that in mind, especially for women. I untag so many pictures because I'm talking and doing this, and I want it gone. So post things that are if you're trying to be friends with people, don't post horrid photos of them. Don't tag them in 4 million different things. Be respectful. And people do see, like when I'm tagged in a photo, it does show up that Tabitha Hale has been tagged in such and such photo. So it gets shown, even if it's not, I don't post it. If he tagged me in a photo right now, it would show up in my timeline that it has been posted. So it is a good way to get eyeballs on things, but make sure that it's relevant and don't spam people, is the short story there. pay attention to that. You can actually, if you don't want people tagging you in things at all, you can turn that off. Who can post on your timeline? If you don't want people to just be able to post openly on your Facebook wall, that's okay. You can turn that off and not let people do that. If you want to review posts that people tag, you can set it so you have to approve everything that people tag of you, which is helpful. You can control, obviously, who can see things on your timeline, who can see posts that have been tagged. So if something has been posted and you're tagged in it, it will show up on your page. Maybe you don't mind being tagged in it, but maybe you don't want everybody to see it on your page forever. Okay, so you can change that setting. Your notifications, obviously, you can set which ones you get so you're not getting completely bombarded all the time. So these are all different things that you can change. Just be very aware and spend time doing it at least once. So you know what people are seeing and you get a feel for what people can access on your page and what people can tag you in and those kind of things. Because I know there's always security concerns, and like I said, the bottom line is just don't post information that you don't want people to have. All right, there are no more questions about Facebook. Yes?
So you're talking about pictures. If you've got a whole album
Yeah.
on your Facebook page, or on your Facebook, how can you take that album and send it to your own pictures when I don't have it in my pictures? I've organized it in Facebook.
You mean on your computer?
Yeah.
You'd have to save them all individually.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, you can send a link to that album around.
I thought there was a way to send the whole album just to another place. How about even on Facebook? See, I have a business account, but my pictures are in my own Facebook page.
Right.
How would I take that album out of my regular Facebook page and send it to another site in Facebook?
You would go to your page, and I think there's a way to share that album. So if you went to that album and click share to, and I think if you're here, I think this is how this still works. If I wanted to share, it changes constantly, but if I went to my photos here, my albums, and I wanted to send, let's see, oh look, pictures of North Carolina mountains. If I wanted to share this,
Not with everybody else, just with that, one account.
it's not letting me do it because it's my own, I think. Okay, here we go, share, and then
Oh, okay.
share on your own timeline, on a friend's timeline, in a group, on your page, and then these are all the pages that I administer. So if I wanted to share it to, another page, does that make sense? Okay, that's what you can do there. If you want to save it to your computer, I think you do have to go through and download individually, but if you're sharing to another Facebook page, you can do it that way. Cool. Any more questions on Facebook? Yes?
I know very little about it. You obviously got a bunch of friends. If you wanted to send a message to all those friends, how would you do it? Would you just type into that box you had up earlier? Would you go to every friend?
Yeah, I mean, the message, okay, there are a couple of different ways to communicate with people on Facebook. Oh, look, Karen just friended me on Facebook. This right here, where it says, "What's happening, Tabitha?" That is my status, and that goes out and is visible to all of my friends. So it's not a message, they have to be on Facebook to see it. It's not going to go directly to them, but if they log into Facebook, all of them can see it in their home feed when they log in. Does that make sense?
So the people that are online at this time will see something.
Or are online or go visit my page at some point. I post it and it's there.
Okay.
So, for example, this is my profile. I can scroll through everything I've posted since 2007. So, I mean, if I want to go back, I can go to anybody that I'm friends with and look at anything that's posted all the way back.
Tabitha, show what happens when you put a link to a news article
Yeah, that's something.
on your status.
Okay, what news article should we post?
Yeah.
Let's go steal one from George.
That's
Oh, hey, let's post a Facebook article. All right, so when you post a link like that, it automatically pulls up a summary of the article as well as the image. Now, in this particular article, there's more than one image. So I can click this little arrow here and select a different one if I like. Always pay attention to that because sometimes it'll pull through ads or something else when there's actually a decent graphic that you might want to use. Pay attention to the graphic. That's a picture of Mark Zuckerberg. I'm totally down with posting that. Delete that just because it looks cluttery and nobody really wants to see it. Click post, and that's officially gone out to all of my friends that they can see. And so now when I go to the home feed, will it actually show it? I think it should.
Not always.
Not always. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. It filtered me out of my own feed.
So the reason I asked you to do that was that Tabitha and Tabitha gave me a eye-opening moment during the election last year, because I'm a very active user on Twitter, which we'll talk about later, but Tabitha and I happened to be at a Tea Party event in Charleston in mid-October. And Tabitha gave a great speech, and one of the points she talked about was reaching low-information voters or people outside your immediate circle. And I immediately thought of what I don't do with Facebook until that point. And that was, I didn't, as Tabitha said, most of the people I have on Facebook are high school friends, college friends, or work colleagues. Well, I started to realize that I knew a lot more because I read a lot more on the internet than my friends do. And so I started infusing those articles in Facebook after Tabitha kind of smacked me over the head about it. But then I started getting pushback of, well, you just read right-wing nut job, websites. So then I realized if I did what Tabitha just did, I can just pull the headline from the organization itself, just like the Facebook story. I'm not commenting on it, so I'm not making a judgment on it, but I know I'm getting it out there to people that wouldn't have seen that article otherwise, and that was really my main purpose. My main purpose was get information out that I know they're not seeing. They can make a judgment call on it, but at least I know I've done my part to try to get it to them. And that was the best way to do it, is have the organization speak for its own news articles.
And another piece is, when you're on Facebook, these are people that you're probably going to have to see at some point in your life. Don't be offensive and rude. A lot of people like to fight, they go online to brawl, and just Facebook in particular, I'll smack people on Twitter all day long, but Facebook's a little different, and I don't necessarily go to war on Facebook because these are people that I know and I have to interact with. And so if I completely cuss them out over Facebook and I have to go see them at work the next day, oops, that could be awkward. So, just pay attention, and you're not getting a point across by calling people names. A lot of times doing exactly what Bruce just said and kind of infusing it in. Now, sometimes things just deserve mockery. Like somebody posted a screenshot of this tweet about using the term pregnant person because it includes all pregnant people and not just women. I had to mock that. So, I posted the screenshot of that tweet and I said, we certainly don't want to offend all of the pregnant men out there.
And all of
That
them
really makes it mad.
Make them
You
stand
want all of
up.
us to request freedom?
Make them stand up.
Just saying. So, anyway,
something.
sometimes you just want to post a fact, sometimes you want to make an observation, sometimes you want to post stuff like, hey, should I upgrade to the iPhone 5, which happened yesterday. And honestly, asking people about technology on Facebook is like one of the most engaging topics. You mention it, everybody's got an opinion on anything. So it's a good way to kind of get people to interact and talk. All right, are we ready to move on from Facebook? Because I want to spend more time on Twitter, because
Are you
Twitter
going to
is...
accept all our friendships today?
I will. Well, I'll try. I think I'm maxed out. I will do my best.
You are. I was rejected.
Oh, dang it. Karen was I was at 49999, so Karen was my 5,000. Facebook has a 5,000 friend cap, so you can't have that. And after that, you have to have subscribers that can follow your posts, but You don't see theirs.
I got her public figure,
Oh, the other one, yeah, I have
Yeah.
another one that I used to use a spillover before they let people subscribe. Facebook is stupid.
Wait, I'm gonna tweet that.
Please do, please do. I'm open about my hatred for Facebook. I like Twitter a lot more. I think Twitter is way more important than Facebook for what we are trying to accomplish in this room, period. There aren't as many active people on it. It's not a way to reach masses like Facebook. It's a very different platform. It is a platform where you influence the influencers and you reach people that have an impact. So, some of the basic stats, 92% of users say they will retweet interesting content. That is how stuff goes viral. People are willing to share things that are interesting or funny or entertaining or whatever. Find that content and send it out and people will share it. Twitter breaks news faster than any other platform. Stuff is broken on Twitter before it makes it to radio, TV, cable news, even a blog post. It's a sounding board. It is so fluid and real time. People tweet all the time now. The basic mechanics, for those of you who aren't familiar with Twitter, it is a constantly flowing stream of information. It is 140 characters. You are only limited to 140 characters. You don't get to use as long as you want like you can on Facebook. You have to limit it, so you're very pressed to keep things concise, to keep things interesting. A lot of times it's a headline and a link. A lot of times it's a snarky comment and a link. Sometimes you're live tweeting. I mean, I live tweet things all the time. The State of the Union speech is a great example of that. People live tweeting and reacting to things in real time. They're giving opinions. All of these reporters, all of these producers for TV and radio, all of these journalists and bloggers live on Twitter, and this is where they find content. They are too lazy to send emails and make phone calls and get actual comments. They quote people on Twitter all the time, and I know that you all see it on cable news, where a lot of times the cable news networks just punt to Twitter, and they're like, this person said so-and-so, because it's too much work to call them. It's so much easier. If I want to know what Bruce has to say about something, I can go to his page and see if he's addressed it and use that. I can follow a hashtag, which we will get to, and follow an entire conversation with one search term and see even people that I'm not following. Who's reacting to this? Well, that's interesting. Who are they? Look at their profile. Maybe they're an influencer. That's something worth including in a story. Journalists do that all the time. I have people that ask me to be on the radio because they've seen tweets that I've sent out. We saw that you were upset about this. Would you like to come talk about it? Yes, I would. You want to give me a platform? Yes, please. So, just be aware of the importance of that and the fact that the media lives on there. They live there, they live there, they live there, and they're constantly looking for content on there. Yes?
Can I just say, just for our group here, as you're thinking about what she's going to teach you, I just tell people the key to Twitter is who you follow. And I have made a list of, I think it's up to 119 people that I thought you guys would be interested to follow as a start.
Sweet.
So when you get to that point, and you can
I'll pull it up. Yeah, I'll show, absolutely. That's awesome.
my list. And you can
Yeah.
just follow those people. And that includes the bloggers that are important in South Carolina, some South Carolina legislators, some South Carolina journalists. If you've ever seen me run on my Facebook or on my blog, Adam Bean, here's 12 tweets that he sat in the committee and put out. That is the best way to find out real time what's happening in your committees and subcommittees. And it happens every day on Twitter. So if she's teaching you how to use Twitter, understand that that's something we can use, and I've made that list for you.
Absolutely. It's also, and this doesn't get said enough, it's the first social media network that the right has dominated from day one. Facebook, Pinterest, all of those are very left-leaning. And I could not, especially as a college student in 2008, I could not log in to Facebook without being bombarded with that content. This is the first one where we have control over the messaging there. And I think that we have much stronger presence and that a lot can be done on it. So just keep that in mind. There's a community that already exists there that is very strong, and it is a community that influences people that are influencers. So while I may not be my own radio host or have a TV show, I talk directly to those people. I have friends who are bloggers who sit at home in Texas and tweet back and forth with White House reporters and get their questions asked in press gaggles at the White House because they just talk to them on Twitter. So you can have a huge impact just by talking to the right people on Twitter and asking questions and stuff. So connect with influencers you wouldn't normally have a line to. Most of us cannot pick up a phone and call everybody that we want to have influence over. A lot of times you can't call your governor or legislators or other media figures and get them on the phone. So tweet them. Michelle Malkin, I have a great relationship with, and the first time I met her, she was, "You were one of my first Twitter friends." And we interacted through Twitter. She started linking me, and that was how my blog essentially launched, was because I built a rapport with her online. And that dialogue and viewing it as a dialogue and a relationship is really, really important, and you can get to know other influencers and be a part of that conversation without even going to 8 million different events and being a part of that. You can talk to them directly. I've already said the narrative is shaped here before it's even written. So as you're reacting to things, as you're live tweeting things, as you're posting responses to breaking news and those kind of things, that is how a lot of reporters can judge the other side of the argument. The conversation can be framed on Twitter by the reaction of the people that are influencers in their space before they sit down and write the article. Yes.
I have a great story about this. I was actually in Sydney, Australia during the first Romney-Obama debate, and the way the time zone worked, we were 13 hours ahead. So when the debate first went on, it was like 11 in the morning, so we were leaving the hotel. So I actually didn't see the debate until I got back to the hotel, which would have been almost 24 hours later from when the debate actually happened. And I caught up on the entire debate just on Twitter by using people that I follow, hashtags. I kind of got the gist of where things were going, so that would prompt me to search for other things. And people were actually astounded that I monitored the U.S. presidential debate a day later, only on Twitter, and half a world away. It was really, I was actually amazed at the technology, just thinking about it as I was doing it at the time.
Okay, speaking of aggregating stories on Twitter, we're going to talk about Twitchy, which is a really great way to get familiar with Twitter. This is a site that Michelle Malkin launched, and it is awesome. And basically what they do is exactly what Bruce was just describing, except instead of going through 40 different Twitter feeds and hashtags and trying to sort through all of the content that is flown in front of your face, you can go and click on a story. Oh look, Elizabeth Warren praised showing no mercy in hearings. Ted Cruz deemed nasty. Yeah. And so they pull all the tweets that were relevant to this story and also go through and tell you, they give you the context, they'll link to other articles, but they pull people's reactions from Twitter and put an entire narrative on different stories from Twitter and put them into a post that is permanent, linkable, searchable, that isn't flying by on a social platform. This is an actual blog post that can be sent anywhere. This is a great, great, great tool, especially if you work during the day, you can't get on Twitter for whatever reason. If you go back to Twitchy, you can very quickly scroll through and get a pulse on what people were talking about. They're very good about following not even just politics all the time, but sometimes culture stuff, celebrities that have gone off the rails and said ridiculous things, but really tracing a conversation and talking and searching for responses to things and all that. So it's very, very effective.
One note, Twitter and Twitchy, because they grab content from Twitter, is not for the fair of heart, so language is very explicit. Twitchy will find horrible stuff that people say, and they are shining a light on it as a disinfectant, but be prepared that you're probably going to see some language that you wouldn't want your kids or grandkids to see if you're with them at the time.
Also true. But Twitchy is a great way to kind of, keep a pulse on Twitter if you miss something, or if you want to go back and see what the overarching theme of something was or what a reaction to something was. They're really good about catching, opposing reactions to things and those kind of things. So Twitchy is an awesome resource that you should probably pay attention to. So now that I've told you why Twitter is important, let's talk about how to use it. Signing up, very, very basic. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because there's actually a significant number of you that are on Twitter. Signing up for Twitter literally takes like 2.5 minutes. It's very, very easy. And you just go to twitter.com. And Facebook, when you sign up, they need your real name, they need locations, they need work history, they ask for education, who are your relatives, who are all of these things, your blood type, DNA samples. They want everything they can possibly get out of you. Twitter is very, very different. It's very, very information minimal. And so when you sign up, all you need to give them is your name, an email, and a password. And then once you log in, you can set up a bio. All right, so once you've done that, sign up for Twitter, it's created your account. You have to choose a username. It can be whatever you want it to be. They don't require you to put your real name. View my profile. This is what a Twitter profile looks like. So, it's me, my name, my bio. I put location. I put my state. You can put your city. You can put whatever. I always recommend being as public with the information as you're comfortable with, and as long as it doesn't compromise employment positions, those kind of things. There is a lack of credibility that comes when you don't put a picture up of yourself, you don't put your name down, you don't put your location down, and you're trying to talk to an elected official that represents you. They have no idea that they represent you because they don't know where you're from and they have no idea who you are. So, if you're trying to get a response, if you're trying to be credible, use as much information as you can. Like I say North Carolina, I don't necessarily put my city, but I say North Carolina. And so people look at me and they know, this is where I work, libertarianish, conservative, yada yada, I heart freedom, I fight commies on the internet. So that's kind of the basics of, they have some context for who I am and what I do. And that helps when people, like, who is this crazy person ranting about this? They can look at my page and see where it's coming from and offer it as, that perspective, and this person works for such and such. So, as much information as you're willing to put there gives people good context. Upload a photo if you can, because people like to see who they're talking to. If you don't want to post a photo of yourself, sometimes cartoons or something like that are okay. Don't leave a little egg, which is the default Twitter account color. Don't do it. Nobody wants to argue with an egg. Nobody wants to listen to an egg.
I was told that recently.
Yeah. Put a picture up, put a picture up, put a picture up. Especially when you're starting out and you don't have a ton of followers. A lot of times they think they're anonymous troll accounts, and there are a ton of those. So anything you can do to differentiate yourself and make yourself look like a real human being is a good thing.
What's the troll account?
Sorry?
What's the troll account?
Troll account is a fake account that somebody has set up just to bother people. OFA was really, really good at this during the campaign cycle. They would literally set up hundreds of, they call them sock puppets, trolls.
OFA.
Yeah.
OFA is...
Oh, sorry. Is it Organizing for America now?
Obama for America.
Obama for America. I forget. It's changed a few times, but it's his grassroots guy.
Yeah, there was a story somewhat corroborated last week that kind of went around that the Obama campaign paid about 4,000 people literally just to sit in their home and monitor social media.
Yes.
And the extended value of those 4,000 people made it seem like there were 100,000 people on the internet. And there were a number of us that noticed the day after Election Day, those of us that had, more than, let's say, a couple thousand followers, there was like a 10% drop off in followers the day after the election. And so we kind of had a sense that there was probably some trolling going on. But this article that went around kind of put some numbers to it and made a little more sense out of the drop-off we saw after election.
My computer is melting, so it needs a second. Do you have any questions on signing up for Twitter and the basics of that? And what your profile should look like and say, why is this melting? What is going on? Get it together.
Tabitha?
Yeah.
The one beauty I think of Twitter is it's great for tablets and smartphones.
Yeah.
Yes.
Much
It's
more
very,
so
very
than-
mobile. We will definitely get to that.
Yep, okay.
All right, my computer is like seriously tired. I think I'm gonna restart it because it's not doing anything.
Where Steve Jobs.
Is that electronic?
I also probably haven't turned it off in like a month, so there's that. But I think with any social profile, you want to do as much as you can to stay credible and put as much information out there as you can without jeopardizing yourself. Because there's so many crazy people online, and there are so many people that exist to troll. There's so many people that run 5 different accounts and just use certain ones to harass people. Obama changed the game on that, and I truly believe what Bruce just said. They have people that literally do nothing but watch us. And it's not just Obama. I mean, there are many websites that are paid to watch us. You know, sites like Media Matters is awesome at that.
When you say watch, you mean they just read your tweets and see what you say?
And then they'll attack us. Yep.
Do you still have to be a friend with people for them to be able to?
Not on Twitter. Twitter is public. With Facebook, you can change that setting. With Twitter, you can change that setting, but I really, really advise against, and this brings up a good point. You can set your account to be a private account. I really don't recommend that if you want to have any kind of influence at all. Because all you're doing is eliminating yourself from people that want, you know, would be able to pay attention to you. You're really, 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 really tightening your scope of what you can do by setting your account to private. If you don't want people to see something on Twitter, then don't post it. It always goes back to that, yes.
Sometimes it takes a little while to wrap your head around the differences in email and Facebook and
Yeah.
social media.
Yeah.
Email, you send something to something and they see it and they can send it back to you. It's pretty much a direct thing unless it's a list. Facebook is you're putting it up for everyone to see that follows you. Twitter, if you want to see what somebody's saying on Twitter, you have to follow that person. And just because you follow them doesn't mean they follow you. So you can see what they're saying. They have no idea what you're saying. They don't care unless they follow you back. So it's just, sometimes I have to think about now that I Facebook that or did I Twitter. It depends on how many people see it. But you just have to really understand it's 3 different dynamics. You have to follow people on Twitter to see what they're saying, unless you go to Twitchy. And people have to follow you to see what you're saying. So it's,
But people that you're following that might not be following you, you can reply to things.
Yes, and that is an @reply. Yes.
And that is a great thing because you can
Yes.
reply to what somebody
Yeah.
says.
Yes.
You know, just, which
Yes.
I do a lot, you know, why did you say that? You know, I ask a question of what they
Yeah.
said.
Yeah, and we will definitely get into some of those nuts and bolts of a conversation, but you're absolutely right. That's how, when you're tweeting at somebody and they don't know you exist, that's how you reach them. So after you've set up your account, you've set up your profile, you've written your bio, you've posted a photo of yourself. Karen was mentioning one of the things that people get hung up on is, who do you follow? It's not as easy as Facebook that constantly suggests all these friends that you know and da-da-da-da. Twitter is very different, especially in the political space, because a lot of your day-to-day friends, you're not necessarily reaching those people, you're trying to reach a different demographic on Twitter than you are on Facebook. So, and Twitter search function just totally sucks. Like, it just doesn't work well. And so if you're trying to find somebody, it's really difficult to find them through Twitter. They do have a search function that you can go to. Let's see. Oh, look, we crashed. Restore. Now, if I'm on Twitter, I can search here and say I wanted to find Bruce Carroll on Twitter. I can search there. together here.
I've never done that.
Yeah, nobody does, and that's why Twitter's search function is terrible. It's not even working right now. So, what I generally do is go right into Google, type in that person's name and Twitter together. 99% of the time, it is the first thing that comes up. Now, Bruce uses a different name on Twitter. So he's making things very complicated, and that was a terrible example.
Find me, I'm there.
Okay. Ooh.
Now, what would be a situation where you would use a different name, not use your own name?
We can talk a little bit about that too. Bruce, it's not so much that he has a pseudonym as that he has his website is Gay Patriot, and so that's what he uses. And so that's his Twitter handle, that's his brand. My website used to be Pink Elephant Pundit, so that was my Twitter handle for the first 2-3 years I was on Twitter. And I switched it last year to my name because I finally got Twitter to release my name. That was a suspended account for ages and ages. But anyway, I recommend using your name if you can, because it's a constant branding thing and you want people to walk into a room and know who you are, at least from Twitter. And if you go to conferences at this point, if you go to a CPAC or you go to everything and you're on Twitter, that's how people introduce themselves. Is, I'm Gadsdenista, I'm this person. And it's really funny, but that's how it works, because that is what people see in their feed every day, and that's what they start to understand. So there's a million Karen Martins.
I got it right on.
Is that you? Yeah, that's you. Right here, you're the second one. Bam. So, there's Karen. Karen Martin. So, and obviously the more popular, the more high profile that person is, say we wanted to find, because we've already talked about Michelle Malkin, so we want to find her on Twitter, search her name and Twitter, and it's the first thing that comes up. You want to find your legislator. Say, Tim Scott, Twitter. There's his campaign site. So, I mean, that's the easiest way to find somebody high profile that you're trying to locate on Twitter. Because their search function just is a pain in the butt. So, finding someone specific, that's a good way to do it. Also, look at who the other people that you enjoy following are following. So Karen's created a list. That's awesome. Go follow the people on her list. Then start looking at who they're following, because there's already a network there. Look at the people I follow. Look at the people Bruce follows, because a lot of those people are probably going to be other people that you're interested in paying attention to. So you can look at, when I go to, keep switching back and forth here, when I am on Karen's profile, which and you can get to anybody's profile by typing in twitter.com/their handle, and it'll take you right to there. So I'm on Karen's profile. I can click on who she's following right here under her name, and I can go through and follow anybody on there that I want to follow.
So what's the difference between the @ signs and the number signs?
Okay. We'll get a little more, I'll just go ahead and get into it now. The @ symbols are basically like when you tag somebody on Facebook and it shows up on their page. This is Twitter when somebody's not following you, or you want to ensure that somebody sees your tweet. Tag them in it. If you're talking directly to somebody, if you're replying to somebody, use the @ symbol. If I wanted to reply to something on Karen's page, I hit reply, and it automatically puts the @ symbol in front of these names. It's clickable, so that means I can link, links back to that person's profile, and it also goes into my connect feed if you're on web Twitter, which is at the top. There's a little @ symbol that says connect. These are all the interactions that people have had with me. So people that have followed me, people that have replied to me, and people are talking about me on Twitter right now. I see you guys tweeting about me.
You get the hashtags, so you finally get to create one to... Yeah.
Yes, we can create a hashtag.
How do you do that?
hashtag.
BlogCon SC, they're using.
How Oh, you create a new one,
Oh.
new hashtag.
You don't have to actually do anything to create a hashtag.
Just put a hashtag in front of whatever.
Just put a pound sign. Okay, so at replies, do we understand what at replies are? Okay, a hashtag is a little more complicated, but is a really effective tool. On Twitter, when you put a pound sign in front of any word or set of letters or whatever, it automatically turns into something clickable that is a search. So, BlogCon SC, they put pound BlogCon SC, that is the hashtag for today. So if I click on that, it runs a search for BlogCon SC. So even if I'm not following you guys, you're tweeting to that hashtag, I can follow that hashtag and see what people have said today about it. And so this is really helpful if you're following a particular legislative issue, if you're following a particular campaign. A lot of times, I know during Senate races and those kind of things, they have SC Sen, they have SC Paul, they have, I don't know exactly, do you guys know of any South Carolina specific hashtags that they use? Some
tweets.
SC Tweets? Okay, yeah, because some states do have them, so SC Tweets of South Carolina. You can follow those and pay attention to what people are saying about South Carolina politics. You can follow what people are saying about a particular Senate race or a governor race without following all of them.
Tabitha? Yes. When you follow the hashtag, it's up to you, whoever's originating the tweet, to type in that hashtag or it won't get captured. Just because you're talking about something political in
it's
South
not
Carolina that includes, Chip Winehouse's name, it's not automatically going to go to any hashtag. You have to actually type in the hashtag.
Yes, you have to type it in. And sometimes people hashtag things just because they're funny or they're being snarky or something. So you'll see a lot of them that are hashtag, that'll retweet hate on Twitter and say tolerance or civility or whatever. A lot of times they're just meant to be funny or ironic or whatever, and they're not necessarily meant to be searched. But it's basically an organic way to aggregate information on Twitter among people that you don't necessarily follow or pay attention to because you're interested in the topic. Yes?
So over there where it says trends, and I see all these
Yes.
things.
Yes. Okay.
Like Kansas at South Carolina tweets, how do we get where we want everything? 'Cause I don't
You
know what-
can't. That tells you what everybody else is talking about. So trending topics are, you can log in at any moment and know what the most tweets on Twitter, what the most used hashtags and terms on Twitter are at that very moment. So, and if you log in, you can see on the left-hand side, if you're on your homepage, it says United States trends. Right now it's NBA All-Star, Black people lies, ways to make me mad, won't reply if. A lot of times they're just dumb hashtag games. TED X-Man, I think, is a conference that's happening this weekend. Kentucky, Tennessee, obviously there's a game. So if you click change, you can make it local. And if you click change, you can set it to whatever city you're in. If it's a big city. Let's see, I guess the closest one is Charlotte. So you can see which ones are the most used in that area, which obviously you put Charlotte and NASCAR comes up. But, it's a great way to kind of, and what's helpful about that is that tells you that a lot of people are using that hashtag and looking at that hashtag. So go in and take it over. Talk about other stuff and hashtag it with relevant hashtags. A lot of times, people start making jokes out of them. Because especially during campaign season, a lot of those trending topics are, promoted by a particular campaign. Maybe you're the opposition. So maybe somebody's talking about, what's a good example of that, Bruce? That happens all the time, the hashtag hijacks.
State of the Union.
State of the Union, but I'm talking like games.
The My2K. My2K, I was just going to say that.
Y2K?
My2K, the
Oh, My2K.
$2,000.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, that's a great example. So my $2,000, I think it came from the Obama campaign.
Yeah.
Had people
No,
tweet.
it was from the White House.
The White House. Had people tweet what they would do with their $2,000 that they were supposedly save if Obama was elected on taxes, because Romney's tax plan was going to raise us all $2,000. And so go in and take it over. And I think it was very short order. We dominated their hashtag. A lot of times they'll have Twitter town halls. where one particular candidate or person, or Harry Reid, will get on Twitter and have a Ask Reid hashtag.
That's fun.
That's really fun. Pay attention to those trending topics. Pay attention to hashtags that a lot of people are using, and jump in. Take those over, because if you have an opportunity and the White House or somebody is sponsoring, a town hall, a lot of times candidates have started doing this too at the state level.
What about Watchdog Wednesdays?
Yeah, we have a tweet up on Wednesdays where we use it's WDWTU, Watchdog Wire Tweet Up. And every Wednesday we have like a Q&A session with a different expert that gives tips on reporting, that gives tips on all those things. It happens, I think it's 12 on Wednesdays, where Watchdog Wire Tweet Up. So WDWTU, put that after a hashtag. So that's the hashtag pound
Can you say that again?
WDWTU. I'm sorry?
The domain again?
It's not a domain, it's a hashtag.
Oh, okay.
So it's a hashtag WDWTU. Yes, he's gonna write it down.
A lot of times the way I use Twitter is I open up my Twitter feed in one window, and then I make another window for like maybe a person that's doing something that day that I want to follow what they're talking about. And then if I find a hashtag, like on Wednesday I want to follow that one, I can, you find somebody that's talking about it, there's probably a better way to do this, and you can right click it and it'll open up in another window. So you can have several Twitter streams open up the same thing.
I'll get into nuts and bolts on that too. I have very good solutions for that.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure mine are very inelegant.
So, how do you connect to people? Reply them, even people that don't follow you, people that you want to get on their radar, that you want to have influence over, that you want to have some kind of dialogue with, talk to them. Reply them, send them messages. They have, either they're monitoring it, or if they're an elected official, they've got somebody close to them that is monitoring it. Pay attention to that, and you can get on their radar. You can get responses to things. You can react, especially at the state level. One of my favorite stories about Twitter is when I was, we were working on a school choice campaign up in Pennsylvania. And there were the leader of the House GOP and the Senate GOP. Both of them were not doing anything on this legislation. Like, it had been sitting there for months. We're waiting for people to bring it to a vote. Nobody would do anything with it, right? So we started tweeting out his number. And we would put his little @ symbol in there, right? So he knew that people were tweeting. He absolutely lost his mind when people started calling him. And he actually went to the local press because he was so horrified that this group was harassing him and that we'd had the audacity to put his phone number online because it wasn't already on the internet. It was so funny. But he went to the paper. They wrote a story about how outraged GOP House leader Mike Turzai was because some group had put out his phone number and asked people to call him to do his job. But that was the story, was him being mad that people had told him to do his job. It was brilliant, but it was because we'd @replied him and it showed up. He knew that we were talking about it. It was awesome. We also got the state Senate leader to call us and cuss us out the same day. So, you really can have an impact because they do pay attention to that. I've had Senator Mike Lee told me straight up that he has changed his mind based on looking at his Twitter feed before he walks out onto that Senate floor. Because you can make phone calls and send emails all day long. At the end of the day, you're a tally mark that a staffer puts down that's yes or no. Twitter, most of these guys see it directly on their phone. Especially the local ones who don't have a huge staff that does it all for them. It's going directly to them, or to someone very close to them. And it's not just a yes or no. You can put links, you can tell stories, there's a face there, they know where you're from. So it's a big deal and you can have a lot of impact. Just use that reply so it shows up in their feed and they'll see it. Yes?
Does somebody like Sirius Radio, do they do this? You think?
Do they tweet? Everybody tweets.
Okay.
Everybody
So
tweets.
you've got a complaint that they can box off of their station on Monday.
Okay, yeah, tweet about it. Yeah, tweet about it. There's been great responses to like customer service backlash on stuff. You start tweeting about stuff, a lot of companies watch that like a hawk. There were some things that came out with different
Airlines.
Airlines are awesome. Delta, like, part of the reason I fly Delta is because their Twitter customer service is so awesome. Tweet at companies. You can get so much free stuff, and they pay attention to it because they're terrified of the bad PR. And like Delta lost my bags twice in 3 weeks. I pitched a fit. Like I talked trash about them for 5 days. And at the end of the day, they bought me $600 worth of clothes. They gave me a $50 voucher for a flight. They gave me 5,000 miles. They gave me everything I wanted. It was crazy because they're terrified of that PR. And a lot of companies, you can get them. If they start feeling backlash on something, they'll either issue an apology or a retraction or throw an intern under the bus for tweeting something dumb from the account, whatever. You can get huge responses from companies that have significant Twitter followers. Yes?
Had any cruises lately?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great example. Tweeting about stuff like that, people follow tweets from different events, from different things that are going on in real time. So you can even search for a term. If you want to run a search on a term, it doesn't have to be a hashtag. You can follow, Carnival Cruise or a name or whatever you want to follow and track it. Make lists of your elected officials. Yes.
One thing that you can do too is to try to cause chaos on Twitter. And one way to do that is, one example that happened where we live is a Democratic operative had helped organize the Teamsters to take over the bus system, the school bus system. Then they threatened to go on strike. So I reached out to some people, and they tweeted out that the alternative plan was for, if the school bus strike went into effect, was to call this person who had helped organize the Teamsters and gave his own telephone number. And that was pretty effective.
Yeah.
He may have to change his phone number.
In a lot of ways, that's how the Tea Party stuff started, was with people on Twitter sending out a conference call number and saying, hey, call this number if you're interested in helping us organize. And there were like initial phone calls, in February of '09 where people literally just sent out open calls and said, here you go, let's see what happens. So, I mean, there's so much. Twitter's very organic and different because it's a lot more wide open than Facebook. It's not nearly as controlled. You're going to get a lot more interaction, a lot more banter, a lot more cussing.
If I use Obama's name in a Facebook post, it won't get posted.
No, on Twitter, I mean, you can reply him on Twitter too. I mean, obviously, Obama doesn't run his own feed, but, and they don't generally respond either, but, being able to tag people, you at least know that they'll see it, and a lot of times you can, if you put enough pressure on it, there's enough people tweeting about it, they will pay attention to that response. So, creating lists. Karen has started with creating a list. How do we pull that up, Karen?
It's go to D and then it's under
Okay.
lists, and it's recommended 2012.
Okay, and I'll show you guys how to do this. Lists are awesome, especially on Twitter. We talked a little bit about Facebook. I don't even really use Facebook lists very much, but on Twitter, they're awesome, especially when you have a lot of people that you follow. Being able to sort it and make it more manageable, because I follow over 3,000 people. I don't always care what 3,000 people have to say. And even if I did, I couldn't keep up with all of it because there's so much content all the time. So, create a list. The first list I created was a smaller list of the most influential people in my feed, the people that I thought were the most interesting, good friends, high-profile people, the people that I found their tweets the most valuable on a day-to-day basis. I created a list that was about, a few hundred that I paid the most attention to. Karen, what she has done, and this is how you find it, you go to her profile, so twitter.com/Karen Martin, go to lists on the left-hand side, and these are the lists that she has created. So this one, recommended follows for February 20 BlogCon in Spartanburg, South Carolina. It's 2013, Karen.
Sorry.
That's awesome. So the top list.
I don't see lists on here. I'm on her profile.
It's on the left-hand side. It says tweets, following, followers, favorites.
You have to be on my page, not your page.
Oh, she's on. Are you on a tablet?
Yeah.
Okay, it probably looks. It looks different. Yeah, that's why. Because you're on a tablet. I don't. Oh, there it is.
Okay.
There you go.
Thank you.
Yep. So, click lists. So this is the one she recommended. These are all South Carolina people, or people that she thinks is interesting. And some of these are great. Amanda Carpenter, she's Ted Cruz's communications guy. Kurt Schlichter's just funny. He writes all over the place. So there's some great people here. And all you do is click subscribe right there. And then you can follow that list. And what it does is, maybe you're not following all those people. Well, they're good people and you think they're interesting. Click on members and you can follow those people with one click right here.
What's the advantage of subscribing to the list versus?
The advantage of subscribing to the list is that you don't have to create it and you can follow one specific column and it doesn't let all the other noise in. It's only these 119 people. And so if you're following 3,000, maybe you just want to pay attention to one group of people and it's, very South Carolina heavy. There's some national people on here, but I see a lot of great South Carolina Policy Council, different people like that. That's great. And so being able to filter out a lot of that noise and focus on, so for example, I created a list of my coworkers. We created a list of Franklin Center journalists. I created lists of when I was writing at Red State, I had the Red State contributors. I had all the people that I wanted to filter out for election night. I had a great list of the people that I thought were the most important on election night. So I didn't have to sort through 5 bajillion tweets in my feed to keep up with, the 20 that I thought were the most interesting. So finding ways to separate it out, now whatever makes sense for you. People in your Tea Party, create lists of your state legislators. That's a great thing. And not only that, and this may already exist somewhere. If it exists, find it. If it doesn't, create it and then tell other people about it because it's a resource for them. My friend Ski Garmish, Michelle Lancaster, who lives in Texas, created a list that is all, it's called Vet the Media, and it's 500 media personalities from all over the place. So if you just want to pay attention to media, if media bias is your thing, it's an awesome list to follow, and it filters out everything else. It only has those reporters. So whatever makes sense for you, think of it as a resource. If you only want to put your South Carolina legislators, your South Carolina congressmen, your South Carolina whatever, staffers, find ways to narrow it down, whatever makes sense to help you organize your feed. Now once you've done that, and this is something, instead of opening up a million tabs, which is exhausting and stressful, third-party applications are the best invention ever. And what this is TweetDeck. And it looks overwhelming at first. But what this is I'm going to go up here because I want to show you guys specifically. It's a platform that you can download, so go to tweetdeck.com or hootsuite.com is another one, HOOTSUITE. That's just a preference thing, so whichever one you guys like better, use. I like TweetDeck. I've been a TweetDeck user since 2009. And what it does is you set up your Twitter account on it. How many, if you manage multiple Twitter accounts, I think I run like 7 or 8 Twitter accounts. It lets you manage all of them from one place. And so this is all of the people that I follow right here. This is the main feed of people that is a few hundred that I want to pay the closest attention to. They're going to get lost because this is moving so much. This one's a lot slower. I can keep up with that one. These are my mentions. So people that are talking to me, Joanne, Karen, Evan, Bruce, all of you people that are here. That's great. And so I can pay attention to the people that are talking specifically to me all the time. This is a search for Franklin Center. So I just ran a search for the term Franklin Center. So I can keep track of what people are saying about us online, and that includes the @replies. So if people are @replying us, great. If they don't use our Twitter handle, because a lot of times people don't. They just mention a name, they just mention whatever. This keeps track of all of that, so I find everything people say about Franklin Center on right here. Same for watch.org, which is our other Twitter handle. Now, you can do this, set up columns for these lists. So you've created a couple lists that you really want to follow closely. Put a column in. All you do to add a column is click that little add column button. Once you've created it on Twitter, like we just showed you to do, add the column, it'll be right there next to those. So instead of running 10 different tabs in your browser, you open up your TweetDeck, which is a separate application. It's not connected to your web browser. You don't even have to open your web browser. It keeps you logged in. And all of that information is right next to each other. And look at whatever column you're interested in. So, yeah.
Somewhat related, and some of you that are only on tablets or phones today, if you only use the Twitter app on your phone, you can't manage your lists at all. But there's an app called Echo Phone that I just discovered. I never used lists before, and I have like 20,000 followers. I just discovered lists like 2 weeks ago, and it was great. I think TweetDeck has an app. I think a lot of...
TweetDeck's app is a disaster.
Yeah.
Hootsuite's app is good if you have a tablet or an iPhone. Echophone is by far my favorite. I use Echophone. I've used it for the iPad for years. I used it on both iPhones. He's going to write the name of it down. Echophone is a great app. But can you see how much easier this would make managing if you run, like when I log in here and I click this little Twitter thing, look how many accounts I run. I can manage all of them from this, see all of those accounts, and this can go on forever. You can add as many columns as you want. Mine goes all the way over. So all of those are right there. And I actually realized as I was saying, creating a list, I didn't actually show you the mechanics of doing that. So I'm going to do that right now. If I want to create a list, click on Bruce's name, this little drop-down thing right there. Add to or remove from lists. Those are the lists that I've already created. So I can either check one of those if I want to add them to one of those, or I can create a list. If I want to create a list, click that, enter a description of it. I can make it private. This is an instance where you might want to make it private. For example, I don't necessarily want everybody knowing that I really only care about 300 or 400 people at a time. So I make that a private list because I don't want people to know if they're on it or not. They don't need to know. So, you might want to, I have a politicians I stalk list. That one I kind of leave public, but, if it's something that is going to be a resource, if it's something that, other people might be interested in following, if it's something that you don't really care if it's private or not, let it be public. If it's something that you're using just to manage your personal feed and you don't necessarily want anybody else to know about it, keep it private. Does that make sense? Cool. Now, do we have any other questions about third-party applications? Do we want to do a little bit of a walkthrough with TweetDeck? I'm getting blank stares, so I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and do it. TweetDeck is terrible on mobile. So if you have an iPhone or an iPad, I don't use TweetDeck. I use TweetDeck for my laptop because it's my favorite. The other one is Hootsuite, and I do like Hootsuite. It's just a different, I don't like it as much. The interface just doesn't make as much sense to me. You might like it better. The way that you do this is when you first sign up, it'll prompt you, you have to create a separate account for TweetDeck, which is cool because it stores all your information separately. So when I am on a different computer, for example, if I get a work computer where I'm juggling between a PC and a laptop, whatever, I can log into that TweetDeck account and it keeps everything looking like this. So I don't have to reset everything up every time I change computers or go somewhere else, which is really, really cool because I can just log in through that TweetDeck account. So when you sign up for TweetDeck, you have to create a TweetDeck account, and then you're going to have to add your Twitter account. And it'll walk you through all that and prompt you, as you go through the setup process. So once you've punched in your info, and say you want to add another account, that's all done in your settings. So if you want to add an account or you can manage Facebook from here as well. If you want to be able to post to Facebook or follow Facebook posts, add a Facebook account. And when you click add an account, what that does, it doesn't necessarily add all the columns, it just gives that account access to post. So, if you've added an account and you want to then see the mentions column, so you know when people are replying to that account, you click add column, and from here, it'll go to the timeline. Your timeline is your home feed that you see when you log in. I only have my timeline for my @Tabitha Hale account. I don't follow any of these other ones because there's so many and I don't really care about them. So if I wanted to follow another home feed, click on that, and then if I click add column, it would add that column for Watchdog News. If I click that, it would add the column for Smart Girl Politics for Watchdog Wire. So that's a really, really good way to to manage that, and it's really easy to do. Now, I don't want to add a timeline, I want to add my mentions. All of that is through here. You can add your search term. So if we want to follow a hashtag, this is how we do that. Say we want to add the SC Tweets hashtag, so we're keeping track of that. Run a search at the top here for SC Tweets. Add column. I just added that to my tweet deck, right next to everything else, and I'm tracking that hashtag, and it updates in real time. Now there's some other settings you can change in here. For example, if it completely stresses you out to have something moving all the time on your screen, turn off streaming. And that way it'll update every minute or so, or when you hit refresh, it'll update, and then it's not constantly throwing information in your face. Preview media and columns, that's what, right here in that left-hand side, you can see the picture right there. You can turn that off so it doesn't take up so much space. So to tweak it, spend a little time playing with settings, and you can get everything set up there. Link shorteners, it'll automatically shorten your links because with Twitter you only have 140 characters. When you paste a link into there, you look in the address bar, these links are 1 million characters long. Like, that would take up the majority of my characters right there, right? So when I paste it into TweetDeck, it automatically shortens it and only takes up 20 characters. And it'll post as bit.ly, which is bit.ly / a couple random characters. And so that'll show up to everybody on Twitter as just that short little link, which they can then click through to, and it takes them to the same place. So it's just a way that Twitter is built in to save characters when you're sharing links on Twitter. All right. Why Twitter works, we've already talked a little bit about this. Local officials are not used to being watched. Heat on social platforms absolutely freaks them out. They don't know what to do with it, and so going after a local official on Twitter is absolutely glorious. Now, not all of them have Twitter accounts yet. More and more of them do all the time. So talking to them on Twitter, it's like office visits. People in DC are used to getting office visits. They can handle that. Half a dozen people show up at state offices and they completely lose it. Twitter's the same way. They're not used to attention, so the minute they feel like a spotlight is shown on them, they freak out. And so it's really, really fun because it's also public. So when you're tweeting things and sending it out, other people see that and can join in. So I started tagging a newspaper for writing a really ridiculous story. Other people can join in on that. And then it becomes a thing. Then they're getting tweets from a bunch of people. And it's awesome to watch. If you have something in particular that you're trying to push, don't be afraid to ask people. Don't be afraid to jump in on them and say, hey, can you help me retweet this? We've already talked about emails and phone calls versus Twitter.
I'm trying to think of something recent that happened that a politician got pressure on
a politician,
Yeah.
aside from Menendez.
Well, that's a good one.
About the fake mocking of the Sandy Hook father and how Twitter turned that around.
Oh, we could also talk about Anthony Weiner, cough cough.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, there are a million examples of how people on Twitter, it changes things. Super Mexican was awesome with the Soledad O'Brien stuff
Yeah.
on MSNBC, where she's literally on TV reading from a lefty blog, like reading talking points off a lefty blog, trying to refute people as if that was like a credible news source. Like, what? And he he took a screenshot of it, completely took her to school. It was awesome.
But I know a great example. It's not a politician, but Piers Morgan has literally had people on his show to talk about gun control because of Twitter.
Yeah.
Dana Lash is one. Ben had a book.
The Gun Girls,
Gun Girls, right, yeah.
Celia and what's her name?
Yeah,
Audrey.
so it's amazing how you can get to people that ordinarily, they wouldn't answer any of our phone calls, but our conversations are out there for everyone to see, and they feel pressured by it, and they feel, as all of us would too, we feel like we need to answer everyone and be nice to everyone. And